The Lombok Consortium is made up of a whole bunch of people, so biogeochemists, ornithologists, entomologists, molecular biologists, mathematical modelers, and together we're looking at the effects of forest fragmentation within the SAFE project landscape. One of the things we're particularly interested in is connectivity within the landscape, so whether, for example, strips of forest like riparian forest areas can actually link up bits of forest and fragments of forest and provide dispersal corridors or movement corridors to enable species to move across the agricultural matrix. So riparian reserves are normally protected along rivers to help protect water quantity and water quality, so to improve the hydrology of the rivers, help with sedimentation rates, to help prevent flooding, and sometimes because people are interested, of course, in the aquatic wildlife. So, for example, local communities want good quality drinking water and, for example, good fishing. But one of the things that hasn't been looked at a lot with riparian reserves is whether they actually help to conserve biodiversity, so whether they can act as a terrestrial habitat for wildlife, so for example for birds and for mammals and insects. They can also be very important as a carbon storage, so the vegetation in there stores carbon, so for example it could be used in these REDD+ schemes. One of the big problems at the moment is that scientists are collecting all that data, and we present that data to each other at scientific conferences, we publish that data in scientific journals, and we talk to each other. But the data isn't actually filtering through to the policymakers on the ground, the people, for example, in the Department of Irrigation and Drainage, the policymakers in Sabah state government. So our results are now being fed through, so we've begun a really exciting collaboration with the Department of Irrigation and Drainage and with the Sabah state government, where we're actually conducting a review of what is known about riparian reserves for biodiversity within tropical agriculture. And then this review is highlighting the gaps where we don't know things. So, for example, how wide a riparian reserve should be to both conserve water quality and quantity, but also to be able to conserve biodiversity, and if it wants to be used, for example, as a riparian corridor. So some of our work now, where we've been looking at different riparian reserves of different widths and different qualities within the landscape, a lot of that work will be able to help inform the policy for the DID over the next coming few years. One of the things that we've been doing really, really well in Lombok is actually to try and make our science applied. Working with the DID has really highlighted to us how important this is, and again it's been very useful to talk with them and to be able to find out from them, okay, what are the questions that you think are important, what are the questions that you perhaps would like us to address in the future. And also, so we've been working on actually trying to put our science into a policy document as well. And that's been a very collaborative process. So it hasn't just been us sort of making the document and giving it to them. We've actually been seeking input from them at each stage into, what questions do you think are important? Which parts of our science do you think address those questions? Where would you like us to take the questions in the future? I think this is where SEARRP is playing a really important role, is to help make that bridge between the science and the policy. And you really, I think, need somebody who is actually going to bring people together and actually help them to talk the same language and work together.